Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Dozer, and if you're new to the show, the mission here is to expose the quacks and gimmicks in marketing while featuring some great marketers and entrepreneurs along the way. And on this episode, I'm excited to welcome my guest, Kevin Bell. Now, Kevin is a full-time police officer, entrepreneur, content creator, family man, overall just a beast at life, bro. So thank you so much for joining the show.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just do a quick intro on kind of who you are and what you're doing, because I know you got a lot going on. So just kind of explain that for the audience here.
Yes, yeah. So, my elevator pitch is I'm a full-time cop. I'm a husband. I'm a dad of 3. I start businesses, buy businesses, scale businesses, everything from self-storage to lawn care, trying to change the financial trajectory of my family, right? So that pretty much covers it. That's the elevator pitch. But like you said, dude, I'm doing a ton of things. And I don't feel like I have the luxury to say no right now, which is really anti, productivity and what everyone is like, what everyone says, on social media is like, you have to say no to more things than you say yes. And I'm like, I just need to say yes to a lot of things right now because I don't have the traction to say no, right?
I do what you got to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Beggars can't be choosers. So, I'm in the grind and I'm documenting the grind and I'm sharing, just how I'm failing 10 times more than I'm succeeding. And we're figuring it out.
Yeah, and let's get into your grind a little more in depth here. So obviously you're a full-time police officer. You got all this other stuff going on. What is your system for managing your time and just making sure that everything keeps moving forward?
Yeah. So, I mean, this it's funny, man. Like I've started just kind of backtracking a little bit. I've started to write down things that I'm commonly asked or told, or like comments that people say. And I think that's actually a good rule of thumb if you're trying to build any sort of personal brand or do anything content related and you're still trying to figure it out, is like, okay, what are people asking you or telling you, right? And so I've started to write that down, and you're definitely not the first person that has mentioned that. So I'm like, I wonder if there's something there. But this is going to be super anti productivity guru hack or whatever. But like, my system is that I just want it really bad. And I'm relentless with what I'm doing. So I keep massive notes in my phone, and in like my iPhone notes, which is another road that we could go down at another time, is like, I want to AI these notes, but I want to keep them in my notes anyway. So I keep massive iPhone notes, and I have things swirling all the time with balls in the air. And I'm just like, every day I think, okay, what is it that I need to do right now to move the needle? And then I start to figure out what that is, and I do it. Like, no one wants to hear that, but I want it really bad. And it in like quotations, like I'm working towards it or there or whatever that level is, that next level is that everyone is pursuing. That's what I'm pursuing, and I want it bad, and I'm just doing it.
And what I really respect about you, Kevin, is you have a clearly defined why. Like, you have a mission, right? There's a lot of people that just get into this entrepreneur stuff for the first time. I'm just going to make a lot of money. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start a SaaS product, build my personal brand. But there's no definitive why besides the money. And you and I both know that if you're just going into something straight for the money and you're not very passionate about what you're doing, you don't have a purpose behind it, you're probably going to fail, in my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's easier said than done, because it's like, it's kind of like what comes first. And people that have money are like, oh man, it's not about the money. It's about like the journey. But like, they have the money and they can say that they're there, or they have regrets of how they went about getting the money. And then for those that are in pursuit of that, I'm like, yeah, that's great, but you have the money. It's, so how do you balance that? How do you pursue this end result while still staying very intentional and present with why you're pursuing that? And that's a really difficult line to walk. And I think the solution is just being very aware of it, and like you said, having a why. So I have very specific things, like affirmations, that I know that sounds like woo woo, but uh, things that I'm telling myself and seeking. Um, I'm very specific with what those are, um, and I have to check myself when I get off course.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And obviously, like I said, you have a clearly defined why, and that's what I respect a lot about you. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about business stuff now. So you're passionate about buying businesses versus, I guess, starting them from scratch. So what's your advice for someone who's maybe on the fence of, should I start a business? Should I buy a business? What do you have to say for that?
I like both, and I've started businesses and I've bought businesses, and like I am not an expert at either. There's so many other people that are much better business starters, obviously, right? They've started and sold, and they're doing that. Slash, there's much better business buyers that have a holdco and like double digit businesses in that holdco, right? I'm just like okay at both, but I think that there's a lot of necessity to understanding both kinds of entrepreneurship, um, because a business is a business, and whether you buy it or you start it, you still need to acquire customers. You still need to market properly. You still need to um, provide value to whoever it is that you're working with or for. Like it's all the same. It's just like, at what point do you want to hop in? And so there's a lot of it's really trendy right now, obviously, to go, oh, I'm going to skip the startup stage, and because 95% of startups fail. Like, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to like a money making business. Yeah, that's cool. But then there's like this whole search phase, and like a personal guarantee, and like, where do you get the money to buy it? And it, like, there's like, you just replace the startup with the like that. So it's if somebody is really interested in buying a business, I would say, like, it's possible. It's difficult, but it's totally possible. And if you're starting from zero and you're trying to identify the industry, it's easy to be like industry agnostic and just think, oh, I'm gonna try to buy based on like how much I want to make, right? It's going to be the numbers that defines what I want, and that's fine. But I think to really be successful is to figure out like exactly what industry, um, hone in on that, and become very knowledgeable on that with the brokers and the players, or pick something that's a little bit in between, like storage, laundromats, car washes, stuff like that. That's more like real estate related, but also a business, and
Yeah.
that will
Yeah.
get your feet wet.
Yeah, and there's pros and cons definitely to each side of that. I mean, obviously, I started my business back in 2018 is when I officially formed my LLC. And my game plan now, I've kind of been on the solopreneur route, just kind of building my personal brand, because I'm so bullish on my personal brand long term that that's going to attract opportunities in itself, sponsorships, networking opportunities, speaking at conferences, client work, right, et cetera, et cetera. You can build anything off of a personal brand. So that's kind of been the path that I've been going down. But I want to talk about personal branding a little bit with you, Kevin. So you talked about sharing your entrepreneurial journey online. I guess, what's your strategy for content creation? Is it, I know you have your email, we'll get into that here in a little bit, but what's actually your content creation strategy to kind of send the message that you're trying to send to people?
Yeah, I also like I totally agree with you about being bullish on personal brand. And again, like a lot of people are saying that, right? Like personal brand, but it's so necessary these days with all the AI, all the like how easy it is to just put content out there. And it, but if you can put it out there and attach it to you personally, and where people know you and they like you and they trust you and you're genuine, and like you really just want to provide value, um, and build something that your avatar likes, then I mean that has so much weight. So anyway, I'm very much in agreement. But on my personal branding, I'm just hoping that it at least resonates with somebody, right? That I mean that sounds too simple, but it's the truth. Like I've created tons of avatars over the years with different businesses. Like for example, I started fitness coaching. My probably my first major online entrepreneurial venture was coaching fitness online,
There's a lot of
and
those.
there is, yeah, and I, it's, this can go deep, but I started seeing that the money wasn't in the coaching; it was coaching the coaches, and I'm like, oh man, like that's not what I wanted to do, and so I pivoted out of that. I cut my teeth in that though, and so I learned a lot. But my main problem was my avatar wasn't me. It I knew who my avatar was. I knew that person, but it wasn't me. And so like having that realization has led me to where I there's a lot of iterations before this, but my avatar now is me. It's somebody that is in the grind, that's trying to do these entrepreneurial things, that has big ideas, that's taking action. Like there was an Entrepreneurs on Fire podcast episode, John Lee Dumas. He's an OG entrepreneur podcaster, and I was reading up on how he kind of created his brand and his podcast, which there wasn't like really entrepreneur podcasts when he started, so it was a blue ocean at the time. But his avatar was essentially him, um, like a year before, and so he really knew that person. Um, and so my content is directed towards people like me, or what I was, um, and in that way, like I really know that person, and it's things that I would have wanted to hear, or value that I would have needed, um, and things that I wish somebody would have told me. And so I think just keeping it close to home is important.
Yeah, and as I've kind of grown my personal brand over time here, I still have a long way to go. But one thing I've really learned early on is the importance of niching down. Even what I'm doing, there's a million AI influencers, there's a million SEO marketing gurus. So it's like I have to niche down into being AI focused on marketing and content creation and small business. You could throw that one in there as well. But the importance of niching down while trying to build your personal brand, I've learned, is so important because there's just so much noise out there if you go too broad.
Yeah, it like I mean, you said it, but it's also really hard. Like that's a really hard thing to do, like especially as you're starting out. Like everyone's like, oh yeah, um, look at Gary Vee. He started specific to wine, and it's like, yeah, that's a great example. But like it was also an existing business that he had known for a long time. That that it was his father's, or in the family, and not to downplay like what he did. He built it from like a $5 million to a $65 million company. But it's hard to ignore the noise. It really is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about your Sunday Donuts newsletter, which, by the way, I just signed up for that. I saw your AI email the other weekend. So talk about, I guess, what was the inspiration of this and what are you trying to accomplish with the Sunday Donuts?
Oh man. Um, that is also very much a parallel to all the other things that I'm doing. So I'll say first, I've been writing this and another newsletter, which I don't write anymore, but I was writing two newsletters for like a year and a half straight with nobody subscribed. It was just me and maybe my dad, not even my wife, maybe my dad. Um, so really nobody. And I kept at it, and I kept doing it because, for one, I love to write, and also I feel that what I'm doing, um, somebody will get some value out of. I'm gonna totally butcher this, but there's a quote by Breen Brown that's like, um, oh, you know what? I'm not even gonna butcher it. I'm gonna find it right here because it's that worthy. It's one day you will tell your story of how you overcome what you went through, and it will be someone else's survival guide. So like that's been the intention, is to document how I'm overcoming each part of my businesses that I'm starting and failing or succeeding at, right? All these different ventures, is Sunday Donuts is kind of a catalog of that. And as I've written more and more, and now as I actually have subscribers, I'm like 5 away from 100 actually, which is super cool. It's crazy that
Nice.
95 people are reading this, which, there's like Sahil Bloom has 800,000, but I'm actually like genuinely stoked with 95. But yeah, now that I have subscribers, things are honing in more, where I'm like, okay, I'm specifically writing about starting businesses, buying them, and scaling them, right? And then kind of everything that surrounds around that.
I see you're on ConvertKit too, and I've been using ConvertKit for about 5 years now. I'm a big fan of that platform, and I've been kind of doing
Yeah.
the same thing, right? I've been starting my newsletter, I think about a year ago. I think I just hit over 1,200 a couple days ago, so I'm
Wow.
starting to build it up pretty quickly now. We can dive into tacticals afterwards on how I'm kind of doing that with my YouTube channel. But for you, Kevin, I guess what's your strategy in terms of getting newsletter subscribers? How are you doing that? Is it YouTube content? Is it social media? Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, as you can tell, I have a huge subscriber base, so I definitely know what I'm doing. Um,
I don't know what I'm doing, bro. I'm just learning one day at a time.
dude, you're crushing it. I'll definitely have to pick your brain. Yeah, so it is mainly on Twitter right now, and I have the link in my profile and my posts. That's where I funnel everybody. That's my call to action. Is like, hey, if you like this, I write so much more about this on my newsletter, and then I link it there. And so it's been all organic in that way. And then how I know you're an OG ConvertKit is you call it ConvertKit, and I still call it ConvertKit. It's not going to be Kit in my mind
No,
because it's
never.
it's it's ConvertKit. Um, and I have the creator profile on there, and I actually just got a subscriber from my creator profile on there, which is odd. Like, I rarely get anybody, but that comes in. My YouTube, I definitely need optimizing. It's been almost a um, like a catch-all of extra videos and content and stuff that hasn't fit on Twitter. It's kind of my runoff, where my video content goes, and it shouldn't be, because that confuses the algorithm. So it's a little bit all over the place. But I do have in my bio my subscriber link, and every now and then I'll get like a viral video that viral for me that goes like 15, 20,000 views, and um, I'll get like one subscriber or something from there. So I'm definitely, I'm not optimized on that. I'll have to pick your brain.
Yeah, you got to get the YouTube going. That's how I've been getting, I would say 90%, if not more, of my subscribers. A lot of it's calling out, the pinned comment, the description below. But honestly, I want to shift gears a little bit here again and talk about the networking side. We're coming up, almost 20 minutes here, and I want to talk about networking now. So that's actually how we connected here and to get this podcast going. I think Brad Smith actually kind of connected both of us now that I think about it. But talk about how you're networking with people and kind of what's your strategy behind that versus just going in for the ask or making it transactional. How do you approach networking?
Like everybody says this, but at least it seems like it, but very few people really do it. And you do it really well. I mean, obviously, like being on this podcast, like that is part of it, but it's about like how you can provide value to the other person. What's that quote? It's like, the more you listen, the more you'll be heard, right? Something along those lines. And so I love connecting with people. I love chatting with people and getting to know people, and then connecting those people with other people that will fit better, right? And it's like it just expands your network. And I genuinely believe that your net worth is equal to your network. And so I'm just like, okay, how can I help whoever I'm talking to? And with that in mind, that's made me want to dabble in a lot of things to get to know these things so that I can in some way provide value to whoever it is that I'm talking to, right? So like I really don't think I'm great at any specific thing, but I can talk about and provide insight on a ton of things.
Yeah, and all it takes is one connection to refer you somewhere else. I mean, that could be a business deal, it could be a referral, right? I mean, that's the benefit of networking is down the road. If you just be your authentic self and build trust with people early on, that pays dividends long term. So I want to circle back kind of on your productivity and just everything you have going on, Kevin. I think that's what separates you from probably every guest that I've had on. So if there was, I guess, one productivity hack that you have a million things going on in your day to day, how do you cut out the noise? Because you just pull up X or Twitter, there's all these gurus saying you should do this, you should do that, new AI tool, new website thing, this and that. How do you cut all this noise out and just keep moving forward?
Oh, this is hard, and we kind of we touched upon this earlier. I think the noise is part of the game, and I kind like again, there's going to be people that don't agree, and that's okay. Like I'm not trying to win fans on this.
Most of those productivity gurus are frauds, anyways. If we're being completely honest.
Totally, yeah. So I got up and I did a sauna, and then I hit an ice bath, and then I was in deep meditation for a while.
And I worked for 1 hour and I make $1 million an hour.
Yeah. Like there's some funny videos on that. Like you caught me at like a great time. The house, like nobody's here. And so it's perfectly quiet right now, but most of the time it's total chaos because we have the 6-year-old and the almost 4-year-old and then the 3-month-old. And so it's just like madness. And my wife and I are just like trying to stay afloat. So that's a battle within itself. Going back to the question is I actually enjoy chasing the shiny objects, and I acquire skills and experience from each chase that leads me to the rest. And we're talking about it before where having a tool belt of these skills can actually help you become more successful with your connections and what you're able to do. But to the noise, man, for one, I don't try to avoid the noise, and I know that's kind of like contrary to what everybody says is the right way to do it. But I don't try to eliminate the noise. I just understand that it's part of the game. And how can I use that to help make whatever I'm doing better? I like social, people are like, oh, social media, it's too much. Like, you need to set your phone down and you shouldn't be on social media. And, you need your blockers so that you're not on your phone during these certain times. I'm using social media to my advantage. I'm trying to build a following on Twitter. I'm connecting with people on Twitter. But when I get home, because I'm doing all this and working in the streets, Tuesday through Friday. So I'm gone, right? When I pull in the driveway, my phone goes on Moon, and I set it down for minimum the first hour that I'm home. And so I have to set those boundaries. But I can't say that
So you're not the internet Buddha. You don't have all the productivity hacks that we're looking for.
No. Again, I don't feel like I have the luxury to do that right now. And people are like, well, you need to build that in now, or else it's gonna be out of control later when you have a lot of things going on. Like, it'll be out of control if I let it be out of control. I have VAs, and I have one she's my executive assistant, and I run most everything through her, and she helps keep me organized. So I guess that's a hack, but it gets out of control if you let it get out of control. If you're not aware of how consuming it is, right? If you're not aware that you're on your phone 90% of the time when you're with your family, then it's out of control. But if you can be aware of that and know, like, okay, I'm going to be on my phone for this second right here because I need to do this task, and then I'm going to set my phone down. Like, it is what we make it,
Yeah, and that kind of leads into my next segment here, talking about marketing quacks. So, define a marketing quack. This is the Marketing Quacks podcast, after all, Kevin. So, who are some of those gimmicks and frauds and online gurus that you want to kind of expose here on this podcast? What would that be for you?
Yeah,
without saying names, of course. I don't want defamation lawsuits.
Right. I think the time that we're in right now, it's the line is more blurred than it's ever been. It used to be, and not like I was alive at this point, but it used to be kind of that, like, used car salesman or selling snake oil kind of thing, and you could like smell it a mile away. But like that's so, like, those boundaries have crossed now online, and you're like, okay, well, they're kind of providing like some value, like, maybe I can trust them. And until you've been like burned, or you've been in the industry long enough where you can tell these certain things, or they're, like, you can smell that their claim is just like so empty, like, you don't know. And so things that I've seen, and again, it, like, these people, they might not even be doing it with ill intentions. It, like, they
just
might,
what they were taught.
Just what they were taught. Like, they're just trying to hustle, and so I definitely won't throw any names out there, because I'm not going to bash on somebody's hustle, like, even if it's something I don't totally agree with. But like, major scarcity stuff, like, I hate that, where you're on a sales call, and they're like, okay, well, today's like, by 5 o'clock, that's when I'm shutting the doors, and I won't accept any more offers. Yeah, like, whatever, dude. If you're trying to sell something, if I want to buy tomorrow, I should be like, you should want that sale tomorrow.
Dude, some of these people are so screwed up where they're like telling people to mortgage their houses and like take out credit card debt to like buy courses. Yeah. Like Kiyosaki, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He was known for doing things like that. For me, I've been in the internet business since 2018. So not as long as some other people, for sure. But the thing that gets me, Kevin, the most, and there's people that I know that do this, Everything is pay to play. It is so easy to spoof people online who have no idea about any of this stuff. I can go pay for my way in Forbes for a couple $1,000s and slap that logo on my landing page. Look at me. I was featured in Forbes. I can go pay a celebrity like Grant Cardone or someone else to take a picture, post it on my Instagram. Oh my God, this guy knows Grant Cardone. He must know what he's talking about. You see where I'm going with this. You can easily fool people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And like rent the Lamborghini for an hour and take pictures in there and, pull out like 10,000 in cash, or like maybe not even like real cash, and they like, you have this stack or whatever. Yeah, it's glorified online with I don't even want to pinpoint an age, but like kind of the TikTok crowd, the like the YouTube,
it's the get rich quick.
The get rich quick, yeah, that's it right there, and that's it. That you hit the nail on the head. That's the key. You can't get rich quick.
There's like, no silver bullets, bro.
Yeah,
none.
There's not. You might be able to make like some quick cash somewhere, but like there's no hack. To build wealth and to be successful, here's the secret. You just keep at it. That's it. Like, you just don't quit. And
consistency, dude. Most people quit right away.
Yeah. It's not going to be your first venture. It's probably not even going to be like your 10th, like you have to keep going. It's like you go to the gym and you like hit a really hard workout and you're like, yeah, I just crushed it. Like, tomorrow you're not going to wake up like jacked. But if you do that, like, I don't know, cumulative like 3 hours a week for a year, 3 hours, 3 days a week for an hour each for a year, like that consistency, then like you're going to be in good shape. Same thing with success. Like, it's not going to happen overnight.
I call it silver bullet syndrome. Ozempic is a prime example of this with the weight loss stuff. Everyone looks for a silver bullet in every aspect of their life, but the reality is they don't exist. And unfortunately, many people waste years of their life chasing silver bullets, only to find out as they're older that the silver bullet actually doesn't exist. So that's just something I'm very passionate about, and I try to teach a lot in my content, is that, on YouTube, in AI specifically, shiny objects everywhere. Oh my God, did you see this AI tool? Oh my God, ChatGPT update. This changes everything, Kevin. And it's like, no, it didn't. It's not a silver bullet. You need to learn how to use it, consistently dive in and figure it out yourself, right? I just hate the silver bullet syndrome, and it's everywhere.
Yes. Yeah, totally. And that's you just have to experiment with it. And I think people are afraid to experiment and to
fail.
Give and fail. Yeah. And to give time into something that might fail, that probably will fail. And so it's this constant, like your toe is like kind of dipping in the water, but not like, no, I'm not going to dive in. Like, you just have to dive in, like, and struggle for a bit, and then like you'll figure it out,
And most people don't want to do that. But I mean, if you look at the most successful people in this world, that's what they've done. They've dove in, they failed countless times, and they learned from all those failures. And then guess what? They found something successful along the way.
Yeah.
But anyways, Kevin, this has been a really great episode and fun getting to know you here a little bit more. Any final notes that you have for anyone listening on any advice that we talked about from businesses, content creation, some of the productivity stuff you got going on, just anything you want to leave listeners here?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what we were just talking about, is if anybody is listening right now and, they've tried a couple things and they've failed at a couple things and they think, oh man, I'm never going to figure this out. I want this so bad, but I'm like, I can't do it. Stop right there. It's going to work out. And the success is going to appear, and it's unlikely that you will even recognize it when it does appear, but it will happen. And so, like, all I ask you, whoever these listeners are, I'm not looking at you. I don't even know you, but just keep doing it. Like, just keep leaning in and stay in the fight.
Yep. I love that message. So Kevin, where can people follow you online to learn more?
I am mainly active on Twitter. So, x.com, twitter.com/Kevin as ASRX. That's ASRX. And then my newsletter, the link is on there, and I look forward to chatting with you.
Perfect. I'll leave all those links in the show notes. And thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of the Marketing Quacks podcast. Be sure to tune in again next time.